So I'm so happy to have you be on the show, Cecilie Stabell. I was asking you earlier because I want to make sure I pronounce your last name right. And then I know currently you are your home in Norway, right?
Switzerland.
Switzerland. So I was saying, hey, before the show started, I said, can you just pronounce your name? Because I wasn't sure if it's like a different way of pronouncing it than me, a Chinese American, trying to pronounce your last name. And then when you said your name, I was like, oh, that was it? Oh, I got it. So I was like, I was worried at first. But I'm so glad you on the show today. You know, we met last summer in my belly, and I have my son, and we at Estonia, and I took a class of yours, and I found it very. Uh, it was amazing. Your voice is so beautiful, and it's literally your voice. I felt the vibration. I don't know how to explain it to people, but well, this is the reason why I have you here, right? Because I don't know if I can share. I can only tell you how I feel through my senses, but I want somebody, and obviously in your field, to tell the audience like what you do. So, Cecilia, please, yeah, tell everyone.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, lovely to be here. I work as a sound healer and as a mentor, especially with more people that are looking to expand. So people that are in the leadership space and they're looking to expand into their next level. And then when we do that, we often, there's always challenges and obstacles that comes our way. And oftentimes we're like, especially if we're working as leaders or we're like CEOs, entrepreneurs, I see this, most people are in this pattern, just like, go, go, go. I'm just going to work harder. I'm just going to work more hours. I'm just going to like grind it out. And so often, that's not really the best solution. And we're just finding ourselves in these same patterns over and over and over again. Because in our mind, we have, 5% of reality. That's the conscious mind. That's kind of governing our reality. That's what we say we want to do. And like we make all these goals and decisions of where we want to go. And then we have the subconscious mind, which is 95% of our reality, which is governing most of what's happening in the programs of our day to day. Because if we were operating from our conscious mind every single day, all the time, it would be way too much for us to actually we would be tired before 10 a.m., right? So we
Well,
have
I
these
feel
deep.
yeah, I'm exhausted. So yeah, and I am one of those people that you just described, go go go,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you explained it. See, this is the reason why I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna let you do the talk. Because a lot of people think I'm like too out there when I try to explain something to them. When I say, hey, I love sunbath, or it's not all about your conscious how you work. A lot of it, like when I talk to them about manifesting and to visualizing, and then they're like, okay, Evie, sure, because a lot of my colleague who's also go go go, they're like, you just work harder. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. Use that as an example. Yeah, please
Yeah.
share.
Eh.
Uh,
Yeah, and it's a pattern that, like I actually, that's one of my default patterns as well. It's like, because it's usually something we've been praised for since we were kids. Like, you're type A, you're like, go hard, let's go. Like, and usually you see a lot of accomplishments of that in your life. And it's just like, it's very often like people that are like that often pride themselves on it as well. It's like, oh, I'm such a hard
yes.
worker. Like, I'll work until it's done, like it's just like, that's almost like a badge of honor. And then it's like, oh, but what if we could just make it happen easier? Because we have this like, don't undermine action. Action is incredibly important. But a lot of people that are working in this way, what's actually happening is that you're addicted to this state of just like feeling like, because you're getting dopamine hits, right? This is like
Mm-hmm.
probably most people have heard about what dopamine is at this point, but is this motivation molecule that's like reinforcing you to keep doing the same thing. So when we're doing like go, 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 we're getting all these dopamine hits and it feels good in the moment. But very often, if we're just like packing our calendars completely full, it's coming from this place of like scarcity or lack. Like, what would happen if I took a little bit more time in between to just enjoy my life or just to have some creative space, right? Because if we are always in this state of just go, 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 then we're in a sympathetic nervous system state. We're very much in a fight state, right? We have when
Mm-hmm.
we are presented with a challenge, we have four different nervous system responses. So it's fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. So some people will go into like go mode, like just do. And other people will be like pretending the thing doesn't even exist, and they'll procrastinate, and they'll just be like, I don't want to deal with that right now. Maybe if I just don't think about it for 2 months, it's going to go away.
I mean,
And
you have both? Because I
we
think I'm like,
we all have these patterns, and
okay,
we often have different like default patterns, I say, that we might default a little bit more to. So some of us might be like, always like doing, and then other things are like,
that's me.
I'm just gonna hide from that thing. Like just pretend it doesn't exist, and it's gonna catch up with us, right? But that is what's
Yeah.
happening in the body when we feel unsafe. So that could be because of someone, like we really need to have a hard conversation, and we are just dreading that conversation. Instead of having that conversation, we are going into like, that is bringing our nervous system into like a state where we feel insecure and we don't feel safe in our own body. So we're going to hide from that feeling, right? And we do that by not going into that conversation, but maybe just avoiding that conversation. And like, oh, I know I need to fire that person, but I'm just going to wait another month and another month and another month. And then the problem just keeps like perpetuating itself, right? Because we're not doing anything about it. And we can say that we are like consciously, that you should fire this person. And you're like, I know that I should be doing this, but for some reason you're still not doing this. And that's very often because of there is deeper responses here, right? Where we have, and that's where the nervous system and the subconscious mind comes into play. And that's why we can have all the strategy in the world, but if we don't have our subconscious mind and our body on board, then we're likely going to go in and sabotage. We're going to be like, oh my God, I am looking to scale my business. I am creating so much impact this year. I want to 5x my business this year. But if I feel like 5xing my business is going to 5x my stress, then I am going to go in and I'm going to go in and subconsciously sabotage that. And that might be by partnering with the wrong people or hiring the wrong people that I, in that moment, feel like are like, oh my God, these are my business soulmates. This is going to be amazing. But I think I'm acting from my conscious mind. But what's actually happening is I'm acting from the subconscious. And that is the unconscious part of your mind. There's so many patterns there that you don't even know consciously that are there. So you're going to be like, there's some kind of resemblance in them that maybe be matching that level of unworthiness you might feel of actually making this thing happen. That might still be there, even if your conscious beliefs is like, I want to make this happen. It's like some part of you is like, I feel unworthy of that. And then that unworthiness wound might be like reinforced by the people that you hire that are like not being good with boundaries or not respecting your space, right? So you feel unworthy. Again, so you're manifesting exactly what you are, right? Because that's what we're always doing. But we're not manifesting from our conscious mind, we're manifesting from our subconscious. So that's often
Well,
why
so,
things are not landing in the way that we want it to.
so my question is, how does people know what their subconscious limited belief is? Because you were just saying we would sabotage it if we truly don't think we are self-worth or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But how do you discover all the subconscious limited belief that you have?
So a good way to start is actually to ask. Like if we start by identifying one area in your life that is like, just find one area for, if you're listening right now, find one area in your life where you're just feeling like really blocked and you're just like, like I just really want to find my soulmate, but he is just not showing up anywhere. Or I am just really looking to figure out these gut issues, but there's just no way I can make it happen. Or I'm looking for more community, but my people are just nowhere. Or I'm looking to expand into like a new level of abundance and wealth, but I just can't seem to get there, right? There's going to be something in your life right now where you feel stuck, like
I
some
just
area.
thought my soulmate was. I was like,
Yeah.
somebody app.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, like this one thing that you're like, and if it's like stinging a little bit and you're like, oh my God, I kind of don't even want to look at that, then you find that you found the exact thing. So, and then it's actually asking yourself, why do I believe I am not worthy or why do I believe that I can't receive that? Right. And there's going to be something that comes up. Like, why is that not available to me? Like, I am not finding my soulmate client because I don't believe that I'm worthy of love. Like I can't find that because I don't believe that I'm worthy of love. So that could be something. Or I'm not resolving my gut issues because I believe that I'm just a person that's always a little bit sick. Like it can be things like this. And these thoughts are not going to be rational. The subconscious mind is very often not rational. Sometimes these can be patterns that are picked up from you were 2 years old. A lot of this programming happens between the age of 0 and 7. So it can be thoughts that are kind of like, this doesn't make sense at all. Like I know consciously that this is not the truth, but a deeper part of it still believes it. So very often we can go and we can ask ourselves, and like the first thing that comes up, it's like, oh, I don't believe that I can have a relationship with my soulmate partner because I don't believe I'm lovable, right? So that is already kind of giving us some insight into like, okay, why is that pattern there? And then we can go in and we can look at, is this really a truth? Is this really an objective truth? And it's not. Like I might have met people along my way that have led me to feel unlovable and like maybe not met me in an affectionate way that I have met them, or all of the things that happens during life. But it doesn't mean that I'm inherently unlovable. Like that's not an objective truth. So just by starting to actually realizing that and being like, okay, this is not an objective truth. And then we can go in, now that we've found out kind of what might be a big block for you, and go in and work on it through accessing the subconscious mind. Because we can do all the mindset work in the world. Like everyone has had a New Year's resolution, I'm sure. And most people, like 93% of people fail their New Year's resolution by January 15th. It's not because of willpower, right? So a lot of people are like, oh my God, like I'm just lazy. I don't have any willpower. Why am I not able to do this? And it's because these subconscious beliefs, because these are the beliefs that are kind of creating our identity, right? Who we are. If I don't believe that I am a motivated person, then why would I keep doing this thing that only motivated people do? Like go to the gym every day. That might be my New Year's resolution, but an unmotivated person don't do that. So if that is deeply on a level that what I believe about myself, I am not going to take the actions of a motivated person, because I'm going to go in and I'm going to start self-sabotaging. So that's why we need to access the subconscious mind. And one of my favorite ways to do that is through meditation. So meditation is something that everyone has access to, right? Because that is something that it doesn't cost anything. We can do it anywhere at any time. And it helps us slow down our brainwave. So this is also similar to what you mentioned in sound healing earlier that I do when I facilitate sound healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
seriously, Cecilia, your voice is, like I said, to me, it was vibrating, and I mean it, because I actually, when you were singing, I know we did the Sound Bad Estonia, and that's how we met. And you made such a great impact on that class when I took, because when you were singing, like your voice sounded like an angel, and then it just, I felt the vibrations like this. It was, yeah.
yeah,
Anyway.
and we can use sound and vibration as well to help bring us into a deeper state, and where we can access the subconscious. And that's part of what I layer into the music. I layer in something called isochronic tones, which help us actually find a slower brainwave frequency. Because when we lower the frequency of our brainwaves, we go into an alpha or a theta brainwave state, where theta is a hypnotic state. So this means that in this state, we actually have access to the subconscious mind, and we can go in and we can change these beliefs that might be limiting, and we can drop new seeds. So what we actually want to create. So when we're in theta, we also actually don't have to talk anymore to the subconscious mind. I can sing and I can layer in different frequencies of sound, and the mind will start visualizing that as pictures in the mind. I don't even have to, because frequency is also information. And when you're in a theta brainwave state, that will show up as images and almost as a story. And that also makes it so everyone can have a uniquely tailored story to them, instead of me talking about like, oh, you need to start feeling more worthy, or you need to start feeling your dream partner. Someone could be working on their dream partner, someone could be working on their gut issues, someone could be working on deep trauma from childhood, and we're all in the same experience, but the frequency is allowing them to access the things that they need to, instead of me talking to them. So I
I
bring
felt
in.
I
No, go
felt I
ahead.
was in a different when you were
Yeah,
saying.
it's very common that I hear people are like, I feel like I'm on psychedelics. It's one of the most common feedback that I get. And that's
Yes.
the thing. We have access to these states without having to do any kind of psychedelics, but it can be deeply healing. And why I love sound is also because it helps us bypass the mind. Because sometimes we can, we can do the deep subconscious work, or we can do, we can do to talk therapy, or we can do like talk about a trauma, but a lot of it is also stored deeper in the body. And in order to release that, we need to allow ourselves to feel it. Because if we don't feel it, then it's just going to be suppressed in the body and oftentimes creating issues. And very often, like in the West, we don't really talk so much about that. But in the East, like they really believe that all kind of ailments in the body comes from a thought form in the mind that's then manifested in the body. So that's so they also always look at what kind of thought forms you have, what beliefs you have about yourself if you have an ailment in the body. And that's something we have kind of forgotten a little bit. So if we have had trauma or difficult experiences in our life, that gets stored in the body. But we can actually go in and we can use sound to break these things up and layer in, because we have sound is really just frequency, right? That you talked about previously as well. You felt this vibration because we
Yes, I
are,
did.
we're vibratory human beings. So every single cell in your body is always vibrating at a certain frequency. Every single molecule in this universe is vibrating at a certain frequency. And whenever there is vibration, there will always be sound. So every single molecule in the universe has its own little song that is kind of like singing its own tone at all times. But it's almost like when a dog can hear sounds that we can't hear as human beings. And we're like,
Mhm.
what did you just react to? You just ran away, and we didn't hear
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anything. And it's similar
Yeah.
to that. We can't hear all of these sounds, but they're always there. And we still feel them.
Can I tell you, when I took your class, when you were singing, I felt a vibration. My body was moving. So I don't. Or your voice carried a vibration. I have no idea. I mean, you can explain it better than I.
Yeah.
My
Yeah, it's very.
was
No, go ahead.
moving. Yeah, I feel
Yeah,
my body. Yeah.
it's very common when we are processing trauma, like things that are stored in the body, or there's a lot of energy moving through the body, that the body can start to really move. And that's also one of the ways that we are releasing whatever has been stored in the body. When we go in and we lay over these new frequencies, because in music and in life in general, in quantum physics, like there is a resonance, right? Like resonates like. So if you pull a guitar string, the string next to it might start vibrating a little bit. Or if there's a train that's going past an apartment, you might feel the furniture in the apartment start shaking, right? And it's similar to us. If I play a sound bowl next to you that has a vibration, your body will also start tuning to that vibration. So
Oh,
we yeah. So we use, or I use very specific frequencies to go in and to balance the different parts of the body. Like you can go in and we can use these really targeted amplifiers that can amplify the sounds in different parts of the body in order to know the frequencies of those parts of the body when it's in balance. So say that maybe you've had a heartache. So I go in and I play I play a frequency to optimize the heart chakra. And you start to feel like, oh my God, this is kind of overwhelming and there's so much going on. And your body starts shaking, because that's one of the ways that our bodies is regulating when we have like a nervous system response. It's like, actually, you've seen dogs do this before. I think like, they shake, and we do the
yes.
same. We just very often don't allow ourselves to do it. So when we're going into kind of like a stress response or an uncomfortable feeling, that's also a way to release that feeling. So very often people can like do a lot of shaking and movement. Sometimes people will get very hot or very cold. They might feel very happy, very angry. They might feel like they want to cry. They might feel like pain in their arms, for example, if there's been like a heartache, because that also, it's often like organs that are next to it can also be impacted by that feeling. And then we need to allow ourselves to be in that experience for it to release. Because the beauty of sound is that we don't need to actually know exactly what's happening in that moment, but we need to allow ourselves to feel it. Because a lot of the things that have happened in our lives, is not, again, conscious, right? It's deeply stored in the subconscious mind. So sometimes it can be these things that we can like do an exercise like I just did where I asked some questions, and it can be like some things are not so deep that it can be like, oh shit, that's what I'm really thinking. That's what this is really about. And then there's going to be other things that are a lot deeper than that. Then we can have like, I just feel so stuck in this area and I have no idea what it's about. And then we can use sound to go in and change the resonance and the frequency of the body to actually break those fields apart in the body, layer over a new holographic field and bring it back to balance. And when we do that, the emotions that are stored are going to come up to the surface. And how we heal it is just by feeling it. And we don't actually even need to understand what it's about, which can be a little confusing sometimes. I have had people
Yes.
later and like full body shakes and they're crying and they're just like, I don't even know what I was crying about. Like this feels kind of weird and I just feel kind of out of myself. And sometimes it takes a little bit to come back, but you feel like a completely different person on the other side. And they're like, okay,
Yeah,
something
I
just
was.
barely released.
Yeah, when I took your class, it was beautiful, and then I felt a vibration. My body just like moving involuntarily. So it's not like I want to do purpose. So I'm glad that you explained that, and that it's normal to have that reaction. And when you mentioned the example of the dog, you do see dog do that, right? They kind of shake it off. But as a human, we just don't know what is normal, what is not. But then I thank you for explaining that. Yeah, because I was like, do people gonna think I'm weird? You know, so
Yeah.
sometimes people do it too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very common and it's a bit confusing to people normally when it happens. First, it's like your arm will just like suddenly like just like what just happened? But that is,
Yes.
that's how imprinted these things are in the nervous system. Because the nervous system is the same system that if I were to drop this glass off the table right now, like, and then I would like, oh, I just catched it before it hit the ground, that wouldn't be me like having the capacity to like think about the fact that I had to do that. It would just be a reflex. And that's the thing with the nervous system as well. It's a reflex that kicks in that sometimes will, instead of doing good things like that, it will be a reflex. It's like, oh, now there's so much stress going on that I am just going into like a mode where I'm just actually going to go into procrastination and into kind of like a fawn state where I'm just resisting everything. And your body is just going to turn on like an automatic switch, similar to what you do if that you lost that glass, because it's trying to protect itself. And you might feel like you're lazy, or the opposite. You go into like an overworking mode, and that's just your default mode, and you can't seem to get yourself out of it, and it's almost like involuntarily. And so that's why we want to go in and we want to start to be a little more conscious about these patterns, and so we can actually go in and regulate it.
Yeah, I like that. Well, and then you just mentioned earlier also the quantum physics. Can you explain to the audience what that is? Because if you're on social media, so many people mention the quantum physics all the time, and I'm not very savvy with like physics. So can you explain to us what that is? How is
Yeah.
that go with the subconscious or change the subconscious mind? Yeah.
Quantum physics is, it's advanced science and it's very different from our Newtonian reality. So in our Newtonian reality, that's our 3D reality, like Newton, that's Newtonian reality. So we believe that in order to go from point A to point B, it's like, oh, this will take 3 months or 3 years, and I have to go through all of these steps and do all of these things. But
Mm-hmm.
in quantum physics, it's like, okay, if this is point A and this is point B, or for the people that are listening, you have point A and point B at a map, you can just fold the map and do like this, and it
Mm.
happens like that. Because in quantum physics, like when we are in the quantum nature of the universe, that means that like attracts like. Everything is vibration and frequency in quantum. So that's why I'm also very much about the vibration and frequency, because we can be consciously aware of what we want to attract, but if we are not emanating that frequency, then we are repelling with our frequency everything in our surroundings that's trying to come in through that. So if we want to use more like quantum creation, we want to make sure that we are a vibrational match for what we want to call in. So if I have a vision of what I want to create, but then I feel completely unworthy of that vision and I have no belief in myself that I'm actually going to make that happen. Like I kind of think I have a strategy, but there's a deeper part of me is like, I failed so many times before and I'm not really good with money and I'm not really a person that follows through on things, because I've done things previously in my life that have made me then internalize these narratives, then that's also the frequency that I'm emanating to my surroundings, even though I might have a different vision for what I want to do. So your beliefs, your trauma, your actions, your emotions, all of this actually goes in and creates this kind of electromagnetic field around your body. This is often referred to as an aura, right? And that is the energy that we emanate into our surroundings. So oftentimes when we start creating with the quantum field, it becomes a lot more fun to create because people will just kind of, you'll meet someone at the coffee shop who will just like kind of like start talking to you. I had this happen like 2 days ago. Like someone, we were just like, what is it with you? And I'm like, what do you mean? What is it with me? She's like, you have such a special energy. It's just like, are you a light worker? And I was like, and then suddenly she ended up being a client, and that wasn't for any kind of pursuit for me. It was just like I was
Oh,
emanating a certain frequency that was matching her vibration. She recognized that. We started talking, and that's what often starts happening when we're working with the quantum nature of reality. Like attracts like. So we will start attracting the right people and the right experiences into our reality without having to go out and seek everything. And obviously, I believe that action is still important. It's affirming the fact that we actually believe that we are going to receive this. And it's also, we still live in a 3D reality. So we want to go out and take the action. But if we are not in resonance with what we want to make happen, then it's going to just be so much harder to make it happen. So, in order to be a
you
vibrational
just
match,
mentioned that you just found a client. Like,
yeah.
who are your client? Like, how can you, uh, people like for example, like people in business, right? How like the sound vibration to change, and then now quantum physics, which you just explained. How we get there? How we do that? I want to know. So
How do we do
yeah,
what?
like how you change your, like you would mention the sound and the quantum fixer sounds awesome. Like how you do that? Like how do we sign up with you? Do you have a training? Like, we change that because I want to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have something called the MetaMind Manifestation Master Course, where we really
Okay.
go deeper into both the subconscious mind that we talked about, right? How to get through the limiting beliefs that is holding us back. So the first thing that we get really clear on is our vision. Like, what do we really want to create in this reality? Because if we have no goal, then it's going to be really hard to hit. It's going to be really hard to hit goal if we don't know where that is, right? And it's not even really about getting to the place that we set out to get to in the first place. But if we don't know where we're heading, then everything might feel like an amazing opportunity. We're not going to be able to like focus our energy, right? So we want to make sure that we have that vision. And then once we have that, we start to look at why is that vision not a current reality yet? And that is usually
Yeah.
when we get into the subconscious work, right? And we start thinking like, okay, maybe I don't feel worthy of that, or maybe I have some limiting beliefs and blocks around these things. And we do, I work a lot with meditation, I work with hypnosis, I work with EFT and tapping sequences that are very,
Mm.
it's amazing for just rewiring the nervous system, and also for if you feel anxious, if you have PTSD, depression, very quick turnaround on these things. Obviously, it doesn't work for everything and everyone, but a very high percentage. This is amazing for. So I teach something I call the inner light activation system. So that is like the first pillar of that system. And then the second pillar is the cellular light, which is all about building the capacity in our bodies in order to hold what we want. Because I was very sick a few years ago. And if I would have then collapsed
Yeah.
time through
Remember.
quantum physics, and then I wouldn't have the biological capacity to hold my vision. I could have the biggest vision in the world, but if that actually came in at that time, I wouldn't have been able to hold it. So we want to make sure that we have the capacity in our nervous system. And in order to increase that, we actually need to include some deliberate stressors. People are all about just like, oh, I need to be balanced all the time these days. And I'm
Hmm.
so opposed to that because we're not meant to be balanced all the time. We're meant to have a resilient nervous system that can be stressed and then find back to balance. Because if we are never stressing ourselves, then we're not becoming resilient people. We're just becoming weaker and anxious people probably
Yeah.
over time that can't really deal with shit. And life is full of shit hitting in the fan all the time. That's just especially if you're a leader and if you're here to create a big impact and you're just like, I'm going for it, then that's going to be part of life. And we want to make sure that we have a capacity to hold that. So an amazing way to actually,
that you were saying that your nervous system also had to be resilient and then also hold space. Because I remember when I took your class, you were explaining how you got sick when you were 26, right? And then you just mentioned that all your success come at that time. You wouldn't have your nervous system, you wouldn't have that space for that. That's a good point. That I never thought of that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because we can, we need the resilience in the body as well. In the manifestation world, a lot of people think it's just about visualizing and all of that, but the nervous system is also, it's physically in our bodies. So it's kind of like if you in our house, right? You have electrical wiring that's like moving through electricity. And then you have plastic around the electric wires. And if the plastic isn't there, the electricity is just going to dissipate. It's not going to move anywhere. And it's similar in our bodies. So we need insulation. That is our cells. That's insulated by fatty acids. So if those are not strong or it's not healthy fatty acids, we've been eating a lot of omega-6 and a lot of seed oils, or maybe we've been vegan for a really long time and haven't been conscious about like what kind of fatty acids we're eating, then
Yeah.
that can start to weaken the cell membrane. And suddenly we don't have the insulation to actually, the nervous system also communicates through electricity. So suddenly we don't have the communication capacity of the nervous system to communicate. And it's like if I were to turn off or on the light switch in this room right now and suddenly the light started blinking instead of just turning on. That's how it can feel in the body. So you'll start to feel anxious when you don't want to feel anxious, or you start to get panic attacks, or you start to feel, like you have ADHD and you feel very racy and you can't calm yourself down. That's often because we have a dysregulated nervous system. And sometimes that's trauma underneath, and sometimes it's because we actually haven't built the biological capacity in our bodies in order to hold what we want. So we
And
really
then,
need
by
to.
the way, I love the podcast because I get some information by listening to your podcast. So everyone, um, check your podcast out because you get those information on your podcast. And I'm gonna put your podcast name, Divinely. What was the second word? I'm
Divinely
gonna
driven.
Yes, I'm gonna put that on the handler so people can check into your podcast because you give me so much great information and knowledge. And then, so for anybody want to know more about it, follow her on podcast because your episode have a really quick contents knowledge that you always share. So thank you. And
Thank
I know
you.
you also have a book. Is Where can we get the
Yeah,
book?
it's only in a region actually. So for now,
Mhm.
we'll see. It might be translated to English, but right now I have some other big projects that I'm focusing on. So.
Yeah, because I mean, it's the book. If you can share that in your book, I would love to get one, and that would be so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. The book is, it's more focused on performance optimization. And we do talk a lot about the brain and the nervous system as well in the book. But I'd say what we're talking about now is also probably going to be a second book. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Like, like, what made you decide to pick this path? I know you shared with the audience when we were in Estonia how you were sick when you were 26, and then that kind of changed all your belief system. But like, was from that's how you decide this is the path you want to go, or something else?
I came out. I had been sick for 8 years between the age of 18 and 26. And I came out on the other side of that. And I just realized that I didn't want to default to the life that I saw everyone around me living. Like I had lived then 8 years feeling so much lack of purpose and alignment. And all my time was just focused on trying to figure out my health, or focusing like doing, different therapies or all of these different things. That was really challenging. And I just came out on the other side of that. And I saw people working a 9 to 5 that they didn't really seem very excited about. And I was like, no, that's not what I want to do. Like, I want to be a conscious creator of the life that I'm living. I don't want to just default to a life that all the other people around me are living. So I started to get very deep into the nervous system and the subconscious mind, and realizing that, 95% of our realities are run by these programs. So if I wanted to create a new reality, I really needed to go in and create new patterns in my subconscious mind, and I needed to become a new person and started acting as that new person. So I went very deep into meditation, because that's one of the best ways to go in and reprogram the subconscious mind, when we visualize that future vision that we have, because neurons that fire together wire together. So if we have a future vision of what we want, and we sit in that vision and visualize it super clearly, and also allow ourselves to feel it, then the body is not going to know whether that is actually what's happening in that current moment or whether it's something that is you're visualizing. So you're actually starting to rewire your mind when you're visualizing something that you really want and allowing yourself to feel it. It's really important that you feel it because that's when the body really turns on. So I started doing that, and I went to a meditation retreat in San Diego, and I
Mhm.
just had this wild experience where I was meditating and I wasn't expecting anything insane. I had been meditating on and off since I was 14, and I had just been this like way to
I
calm
know.
my mind. Yeah. And then I came into that experience and I had what is called a Kundalini awakening. So it's a spiritual awakening in a way. And in that moment, I just thought, like, this is what people are talking about when they are talking about coming to God. Like, it was just so much greater than what I had ever thought this reality to be. And I felt more love than I had felt my entire life. And it just came from within. I was plugged into this field of electricity that was just so strong that it felt like someone had plugged me into an electric socket. And it felt like I just remembered who, just like, this is who I am. This is what I'm here to do. So I came out on the other side of that retreat, and I was just very clear to me that this was not an exclusive that I had with, source or the universe or something that just I could tap into. This is something that's available to all of us. And I just started looking for tools in order to bring that to people and started just following the breadcrumbs. And it was so clear to me that I needed to reconnect with my voice because I had been singing since I was a child. I sang between the age of probably from I was about 4 until I was around 16 with in a church
Mhm.
choir and with a private teacher. And it was like, you need to go back in and like work with your voice. So
Wow,
I took a
you
sound.
actually. So I was surprised because when I took your class, your voice sound beautiful. I thought you being a singer all this time. I didn't know you take some time off. So uh,
Yeah, no, I was way too sick when I was sick too. I tried taking lessons a few times and I just couldn't really stick with it. So, but I came out on the other side when I was finally healthy enough to start getting back into it. And I just, in the beginning, I just did it for myself. It wasn't like I didn't intend to like share sound healing ceremonies. And then I was sitting in meditation and these kind of melodies started coming through, which like I was just like toning to them. I was like, just a very like soundscapes almost. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I haven't really sung like this before. And then when I got my sound bowls, it was almost like a different quality of my voice that came out, and I started just like singing with it and toning with it and playing with it really. And it was just different part of my voice that I hadn't really like heard before that was just coming through. And then it was actually when I started working with plant medicine with ayahuasca, and after doing that, there's also different qualities that's definitely come out in my voice. And now when people that know me, like from just like outside of this work, come to one of my ceremonies, they're like, it's so clear that you're weaving with something else. Like they can really tell that it's like I step into a little bit of like a different, because it's a co-creation, right? It's a co-creation between me and the audience and the divine. It always is. So I never plan a ceremony. Like I never plan what I'm going to sing. Obviously there's a structure, like how long it's going to be. And like, I know I'm going to do a little bit of like an induction, but the way that I sing is also is always tuned to the feel and what's moving in the room that day.
wow, no, because I thought you had a song. Yeah. So that day when we in Estonia, when you were doing the classes, it was unplanned, like the voice.
Everything is improvised. It always is because it
Wow.
yeah, it needs to be. So because it's tuning into the vibration and the frequency in the room. So when I'm doing this, it's almost as if it's a telepathic experience with the bodies in the room, and they will tell me because I also go around the room and do energy activations, like hands-on activations. So they will tell me like I can be like someone on the other side of the room. It's like almost like the body they're calling me like telepathically, and I just need that I go over there, and then I there will be a specific song that's meant for them, and it's just in the moment. I don't know that song before it's coming out of my mouth. It's almost like I'm an instrument being played by something else, and I just need to get out of my mind, and I just get into my heart, and then it always just happens perfectly. And it's the way that I do healing now. Like I'm trained in Reiki, I'm trained in, I practice Kundalini. I've trained at a mystic school in the US. I'm a master of metaphysics. But most of the healing work that I do now is just it's a telepathic process with the bodies, and they will tell me, your body will tell me where it needs to be unlocked, where things needs to be moved, instead of me thinking like, oh, if I'm gonna do this thing on the jaw, I need to put my hands there. Like it's getting out of the mind and dropping into the heart. And that's always in the beginning when I started doing that after having being trained in a certain way in this, I was like feeling like, but shouldn't I be following some kind of plan? Like this feels like can I just do this? And then I just started seeing like so much more powerful experiences in people, so much more powerful healings, also a lot more physical healings starting to happen. People that were having, releasing deep trauma, people were having these psychedelic states again and again. And I just realized like, no, this is the work that I'm meant to do. And it feels in a way as if when that activated, it was actually, I was in an ayahuasca ceremony and
Mm-hmm.
suddenly I was laying on my mat and my hands were starting to move in these mudras. And it was interesting because I was looking at myself and I was like, this is interesting because I clearly know exactly what I'm doing because it was so intricate. I could tell that it was like almost like an art, but I'm not the one doing it. So it was like terrifying and super interesting at the same time, right? And I came out of that ceremony and suddenly I had access to that. And that's what I use now often when I'm in ceremony for healing. And it will just, it's some of the most powerful work that I do. So it's like almost as if I just remembered again a craft that I've been cultivating for lifetimes. That's the way that it
Mm.
feels. Yeah.
Right. Probably still past life, past life, believe, past life. That's amazing. Because until we spoke today, I thought you have a plan. And then I was like, when you're going to sing and, when you do the sound bath. I didn't know that it just came to you. The one that was so powerful, like I said, you know, this is not the first time I've been to sound bath when I went to your class. But when you sing, my body just started moving, and it was involuntary. And I don't know if it's similar to yours, where I know my body's moving. So, but I didn't cause that. That's why I was making it like I'm saying it's involuntary because
Yeah.
believe me, in the room, so I was kind of like, okay, I'm moving. This is not like what people think of me, but it's not me. My body's just moving.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's like, because there is this deeper intelligence in all of us that we all have access to, and that comes in to co create. So the nervous system will regulate and it will move in certain ways. And very often in ceremonies as well, I will have people say, like, I could hear you on the other side of the room. So I knew you weren't by me. But I also felt someone touch me. I could feel someone touch my knee, or I could feel someone touch me here and there. So it's always, it's a co-creation, and I'm always setting the room before we're beginning. And it's a lot of other things that are also coming in to help. And this has become something that's so much more than what I ever like thought it would be. And it's still amazing. It's to me like what's happening in these ceremonies, because people are having healings and processing so deep things, and it's just feeling like this creation that I get to be part of in a way. So it's it's surrendering to the
When
process.
you when you're gonna be in US, because I mean, for people who are interested, including me, well, I would love to see you regardless. So, do you have any upcoming plan to come to the US for ceremonial or training or retreat that my audience can go attend or need your help? Yeah.
Yeah, I might be in the Hamptons in June. It's not like finally
Okay.
set, but for that would be probably for retreats, but for like a day retreat or for retreats during the day. So it will be like people will stay at their own houses, but then come together during the day for like sound healing, for practice, for lunch, for all of those things. And then I'm also looking to do more online ceremonies. I just actually did one
Oh, can you
to
do that?
what
Can we do?
yeah, 1.5 week ago. Because in the quantum field, there's no time or space. So people can have equally as powerful sound healings when they're at home. And I'm working with a software where you can get studio sound quality at home. So oftentimes people also actually have really powerful experiences, because some people, when they're in a group, they don't allow themselves to cry, or they're like, I feel like my body want to shake, but that's weird. Like you just said, like it feels weird. Like I'm just gonna hold back,
Yeah.
and then they don't
Yeah.
allow themselves to like go full out in the experience. Whereas if you can listen to it by
Yes.
yourself when you're in your living room and you're just like you've blocked out some time, no one's gonna disturb you. It's just you and this experience. And oftentimes people also allow themselves to go deeper because they're at home, they feel fully safe. So I'm also going to be doing more of that.
You that.
One more time.
When is that going to be available for people wanting to do that on Zoom? So
Um, I actually have. I just did a 2-day masterclass, and the second day of that, the replay of that is already available, where I did a sound healing like this. So if people want to jump straight into that, they can do that. They can message me. If they message me codes on Instagram, then they'll get access to that.
got it. Okay. I'm gonna sign up right away. And I would
Yeah.
see finalize your plan for Hampton in the summer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's away, it's not that far. So I would love to be there to check it out. So because I have such a great video, and I hope the audience here this really try it. It is such a great experience for me. And like I was
Yeah.
talking who I brought on this podcast is somebody that I actually personally encountered and I have really great experience with, and I just want to share with other, especially women. Yeah, so please let us know once you finalize in June in Hampton, so more people can attend this, and then
Yeah.
before love to do the Zoom ceremony. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. They can follow if they follow along on Instagram. I usually tend to, yeah, be
and
more. What did you just say? You so not.
your Instagram look beautiful. I love
Oh,
it.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Post that you do because you give a little wisdom, so it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Share the
Always,
knowledge.
yeah. So we always ask everybody who on the show, like, what advice you would give to the younger self, right? To your younger self. What would be the advice that you would give to yourself?
Hmm. That's a good question. I think I would just tell her that it's all going to be fine, that it's all going to work out, that you just need to trust and you need to like listen to your inner knowing. Like it never lies. Like I think we all have access to a deeper truth. It's very easy to get lost in our minds and overanalyze and think of all of this. And we have the heart that has over 40,000 neurons that operate separately from the brain. It has an electromagnetic field that's 5,000 times as strong as the mind. So if we don't access that, then we're losing out on the magnetism, on so much of life that just can't be thought through with the mind. It's felt in the heart. And to just trust that, trust the deep inner knowing that we all have, but we so often don't allow ourselves to listen to because it doesn't make sense in our heads or it doesn't make sense to someone else. And we think we need validation from other people in order to truly do what we want or truly be who we want to be. And you don't need validation from anyone except yourself and just trusting that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Cecilia. That's really nice. I actually wanted to. It's actually a message for myself too, what you just said. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
you
Thank
always
you.
what I do. So thank you. Well, it's so nice to have you on the show, and I can't wait to see you in June. And definitely, we would check it out your Zoom ceremony because
Yeah.
I ceremony. Yes.
Amazing. Yeah. We can also link to, I'll send you the link for where they can access the replays. So you can put that in the show notes if you want to.
Perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for sharing.